Welcome to my first ever YouTube video where I will be sharing the story behind these weird pants. Last week I finished up the design and sewing of my torus pants. These were pants that I had been thinking about making since the summer, and today I'm going to tell you the story behind these pants, how they got their name, and the work that went into completing them. The beginning of this story starts in the summer when I made a friend who recently finished his PhD in mathematics. His particular focus is a field of mathematics called topology. I remember our conversation well because we shared a mutual interest in pants. In topology, they have a term called pairs of pants. The pairs of pants are usually described as a disk with two holes or a sphere with three holes. In topology, these are the same thing. This probably seems a bit confusing, but I'll touch more on this later. Pairs of pants are usually used in topology as a way to decompose more complex shapes. The way I was explained this was with the use of a double torus. A double torus looks like this and is described as a 2D surface, which means it's hollow inside. So when I make a cut here in the middle and then a cut on either end of the double torus, I'll end up with two pairs of pants. The first cut I made in the middle becomes the waist opening for both pants, and then the cuts on either end create the leg openings. In topology, you are allowed to continually deform any surface as long as you're not tearing it. So once the pant decomposition of a double torus is completed, the pants are usually depicted like this, with the legs spread apart from each other, in order to better resemble the pants that we wear on our legs. With a little more work, both a disc with two holes and a sphere with three holes can also be turned into these same pants. However, from a pattern making perspective, when I learned about the decomposition of a double torus, I didn't have this knowledge of topology, and so I saw these mathematical pairs of pants as a much more rigid shape made from a double torus. This led me to hyper focus on these really weird pants where the leg openings face each other and perfectly align at the bottom. The more I thought about them, the more I knew I had to make them into real wearable jeans. And that's why I'm here now, making these pants that I call torus pants. Before pattern making, I spent a lot of time thinking about these pants, thinking about the logistics of how they would fit on a human body and what they would look like. When thinking about this design, I realized it had a lot of similarity to J-leg jeans. Here are a few designs I looked at to help in my pattern making process. With both of these jeans, I noticed that the way they work is by creating a slim enough profile that the jeans are forced into the correct position by the wearer's legs. I knew from this that I would have to create fairly slim fitting pants to ensure that the jeans would stack instead of dragging along the ground. The other thing I noticed was how the stacking forms. With these Levi's, we can see that the curve in the leg of the jeans occurs much sooner than the PPFM jeans. This leads to distortion of fabric higher up on the legs when being worn. So with the Levi jeans, we can see the distortion happening up here all the way down to the bottom of the legs, while with the PPFM jeans, the distortion and stacking mainly occurs below the knee. My research led me to create this outline for my pattern. I drew this up on Illustrator to help me visualize the curves of the pattern before drawing it on my patterning paper. I went with this design where the legs slant slightly out, getting further away from my central point until this line where they curve back into my center point to meet up with the other leg. I landed on this design because I knew I wanted most of the stacking and distortion of the fabric to happen below the knees. Here is a look at the outline I have for my torus pattern versus my regular straight leg pattern. You can see that I designed my pattern so that the inseam of the torus pants ends at the very bottom of my foot. This meant that the outseam goes down another 7.5 inches below the bottom of my foot. I designed it this way because I want the leg opening to level out as much as possible. If I made it shorter, this inside part of my pant would be floating above the outseam, which I don't want. The hope with this design is that the opening at the hem of my pants is narrow enough that when twisted to fit on my legs, the structural composition will keep it from slipping down my ankle and under my shoes. As I have been explaining the story behind these pants and the design process, I've also been showing footage of my patterning, cutting, and sewing for these pants. I recorded nearly the whole process of making these pants and have it sped up quite a bit so that it doesn't take too long to sit through. If you want to skip ahead to the end, you can see the finished result and some of my additional comments on the pants. This is the first YouTube video that I am making, and so if you have any feedback as to if you like the format of the video or how you'd like to see me document the sewing of pants in the future, please let me know. I have a few other pant designs in a similar vein to these ones that I am planning to share with you all over the next couple of months, so any feedback on this video would be greatly appreciated. This concludes the storytelling portion of this video. You can enjoy the rest of the sewing process, and I'll see you at the end of the video for some final notes on the pants. Here's the finished result of these pants, and a look at them on my body. Overall, I'm pretty excited about the outcome. I was very happy to find out I can wear these pants comfortably with my boots. My boots are quite slim, and so I often find I can't wear jeans that stack with them, as the fabric will just slide down onto the ground, causing heel bite. However, with the design of these pants, even though they're much longer than my other jeans, the hem hugs my ankles snugly, preventing them from slipping down under the heel of my boots. Because of the disparity between inseam and outseam of these pants, when I am wearing them, I will have more fabric stacked up on the outside of the leg than on the inside. This is what leads to a more unique stack when compared to extra long straight leg jeans. Closer up, you can see most of the stacking occurs at the bottom of the leg, like I was predicting. This is how I have them stacked normally, but you can play around with it a bit. I like the idea that these pants are able to have this very unique torus shape to them, but it may never be realized by someone who just observes them on my body. For me, the beauty of design is always in the pattern making, and this was an exercise in pushing my knowledge of pattern making, which I definitely appreciated. I'm excited to take what I learned from this pattern and use it in future creations. I am also interested in continuing to explore topology to come up with more unique ways to pattern pants. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where I'll probably be making another weird pair of pants.